at my school, Fisk, in Wellesley, and I am going to talk about diversity with my mom.
Yes. So Milan did a speech for his 5th grade classroom, and he's been doing this since he was in 1st grade, and he had done it at the Wellesley Montessori School also. So he wanted to speak on, he's being, from his perspective, he's raised here in the U.S. He's born in, right here in Boston. So he wanted to be able to share the cultural festival of Diwali with his friends. So he asked me to come into the classroom, and I have been assisting the kids with a craft or something, a story about Diwali, and we can't bring in food, unfortunately, in public school systems. But this year, Milan really took it in his own hands, and he did this on his own. And we talked a lot about what diversity is, because the 5th graders are now kind of formulating a concept on what it means to be different, what it means to be together, and what it means, when they see something that's unfamiliar to them, how to be a little bit more accepting of it. So Milan, I do ask him, I think it's a sensorial thing too. He wears usually an Indian kurta that day, even to the public schools here, just so that people can get to see the different dresses, and then also we give a presentation, and we'll usually sing a song in our native language with the kids. So that's something I think that the kids have been really enjoying. So this year Milan did a little speech about India and Diwali. Diwali this year fell on, we just celebrated it yesterday, and the day before yesterday, and it's a 5-day festival that lasts each usually in October. So let's see if this will, go ahead. Oh, sure. I'm sorry. I am Manisha Verma, and I am a mother of 3. Milan is my oldest. He's a 5th grader at Fisk. I have a 3rd grader at Fisk and a kindergartner at Fisk, so I'm very devoted to that school district this year. I have all 3 kids there, and my husband and I moved from New York back in 2007 to Wellesley.
Diwali, which is a 5-day festival, represents the start of the Hindu New Year. It commemorates the victory of good over evil and thus brightness over darkness. It also marks the onset of winter. The 5 days of Diwali. Day 1, Dhanteras. Everyone buys new pots and pans and even jewelry, and my mom bought a new coffee maker.
Coffee maker? Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I bought a new coffee maker.
Day 2, Jyoti Diwali. Jyoti means mini, so it's like mini Diwali. Everyone makes rangoli, which is like a powder, and then you put it on your doorstep or near your door, the entrance to your house. And it's like a decoration, sort of. And
so that's something
food.
Also we welcome our neighbors. We live right on McLean off of Cedar, and we do rangoli on our doorsteps, and the kids really love it. Our neighborhood kids, so they come and help Milan and his brother, and it's kind of nice for them to be involved in something.
Day 3, which was on Thursday, Diwali, the darkest night of the year, thus the reason why the Hindu calendar is lunar. Everyone decorates the house and lights diyas. Diyas are little lamps. Sometimes, last year we made them out of clay, but sometimes we just buy them. Day 4, Diwali also marks the beginning of the new year. In some parts of India where the Hindu Vikram Samvat calendar is popular. That's a different kind of calendar. Merchants and shopkeepers close out their old year and start a new fiscal year. Day 5, Bhai Dooj. Bhai means like brother. So, but sometimes, you can use it sister. Celebrates a sister-brother loving relationship. The day ritually emphasizes the love and lifelong bond between siblings. Celebrating the New Year. The Hindu New Year falls in October or November of each year. It's called Diwali, the Festival of Lights. For Diwali, people get dressed up in new clothes, send cards to family or friends, and give out presents. Since it's the Festival of Lights, we use fireworks light up the sky. And we didn't do much fireworks this year, but last year we did.
We do little sparklers. We can't do big in Massachusetts. So Milan asked this question of his classmates, what American holidays are celebrated like Diwali, and the kids really got thinking on how light is a symbolism of just many types of festivals across many cultures, whether it's Hanukkah, whether you're lighting the candles, Christmas, where you're lighting lights outside, and the different ways that light is used across I think the world to mark auspiciousness. So we talked about that, right? And we talked about, of course, the major symbol of India happens to be the Taj Mahal, and the kids are very, very eager. They're very curious to learn about it. So we do usually mention that there is, we'll show a little replica of the Taj Mahal, and we'll talk a little bit about it. So Milan had asked what building is in this picture? And then Diwali.
Bright beauty. Diwali's name comes from the Sanskrit, which is an old language, from the Sanskrit word Deep Valley, row of lights. According to tradition, Diwali celebrates the joyous homecoming of Lord Ram, hero of the epic poem Ramayana, after 14 years of exile. When Lord Ram and his wife Sita returned to their country, the people lit the way with small oil lamps called diya. During Diwali, these lamps shine in rows along homes and temples, adorning windowsills, staircases, and parapets, or glow from little boats that float down rivers. Colorful candles are lit alongside diya, while fireworks light up the night sky. Diversity in Diwali. What does diversity mean to you? To me, diversity is sort of like when lots of different, like my school is diverse because many different people have different cultures and traditions live there, or like go to school there and live around there. So diversity is just like many different people who, or somewhat the same people, celebrating different things or different traditions or different beliefs. And when my parents came from India, they brought with them their traditions and beliefs and culture. But I was born here, and so are my siblings. So it sort of makes my town or community more diverse.
And then we talked about how one can relate the traditions of Diwali to promoting diversity. So I think in general, when we look across just our local towns, and as we see that, there is, in the elementary schools also, but in the middle school this year, they announced Happy Diwali over the loudspeakers. And when I came to the United States, it was 1987. And my father first came to New York City, which was diverse then, but it wasn't a safe town back then. He lived in the Bronx, and my parents chose Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where they had a job offer to move. Pittsburgh it's not quite the Midwest, but a very small town, and not quite as diverse. So I do remember that it can be daunting for a young child in the 4th grade to go into any sort of a school and either have an accent, which I no longer have because now I'm 40 and I've lost it over the years, but also to be dressing differently, or to talk about any type of celebrations that they might do at home. So I wanted my kids to feel comfortable with that. I wanted them to be comfortable with the cultures, the things that we've left behind. My husband's family is all here in the United States now. He no longer has anyone in India. I have extended family there. Milan has went back 3 times. But I wanted him to be comfortable with his identity. So this is one of the reasons why I encourage a lot of, the festivals or the things that we're celebrating at home. I think the way to come over that daunting or that feeling of that you don't belong is to talk about it, and to talk about it with your classmates at a young age. So this is one of the ways that we are doing it within the public school systems here. How am I doing? Thank you. And happy Diwali to everyone here. Thank you. Milan is going to go and celebrate Diwali again. This evening he's actually performing tonight. And he's going to be performing a traditional Indian dance here in Wellesley.
That we wanted to show you about all the different waves of conquest just in the Indian subcontinent. And I found it interesting because today's theme is for the World of Wellesley Diversity Summit. It's how does local diversity have global and national impact? And that's our theme. So I kind of find it interesting that to most Indians, we're so used to living with a million different cultures, all in a small geographical area, that the whole concept of diversity to us is quite different from diversity for other people in other countries in other parts of the world. So a lot of people think that the British, who colonized India for 300 years, that was the biggest colonial event. But actually, if you see this video, you'll see that right from somewhere before 1200 BCE, there have been multiple waves of colonization and different kingdoms that have cropped up and died away over and over again. So,
So it's no internet access.
is it this one?
Yeah, there's just no internet. It says it's not connecting. So let
Should be
me.
this one, or
Oh, now
it
I
is?
see it.
Okay.
So we'll get over this little
Great. No worries. And then I have a little blurb here that I really liked, and I thought it was nice to share. As Milan so nicely explained, Diwali is a big celebration, and it's probably the one festival that all of India celebrates. And India is a very diverse country. Again, I say that word because it's mostly different pockets and different communities of people that all occupy a common landmass. So east to west is almost like going to a foreign country. North to south is also quite different. And Diwali, it's come to symbolize many things for many people in India, as well as the Indian diaspora that exists outside of the country. And so one of the reasons that they light the oil lamp is there's a pot and it has oil and there's a wick. So the symbolism is that the wick has to be in the oil yet out of the oil. So if the wick gets drowned in the oil, it can't bring light. And like the wick of the lamp, you have to be in the world and yet remain outside of the world. If you're drowned by the materialism of the world, you can't bring joy and knowledge into your life. And so that's a symbolism for part of lighting the lamp. So lamps are lit not just to decorate homes, but also to communicate truths such as what I just mentioned. Lighting the lamp of wisdom is lighting a lamp within yourself. You light up hidden values, you acquire knowledge, and awaken all the different facets of what it is to be human. And when all these facets are awakened or lit, that's what we refer to as Diwali. So the common notion is not to be satisfied with lighting just one lamp, but several thousand lamps, because you need to light many, many lamps to dispel the darkness, and the darkness of ignorance, the darkness of hatred, and all the other different kinds of darknesses that lead to petty human emotions. So another thing that we do in India that we don't do here in Massachusetts is firecrackers. So, and here we're a little bit limited to sparklers, but recently there was a news article that said the Indian government was trying to ban firecrackers, and there's a huge outcry, huge public outcry, like how can they do that? Firecrackers are a big deal in India. And so much so that after Diwali there's so much smoke in the air that airplanes have a hard time taking off. There's fog for like several hours the next several following days after the event. But the firecrackers are also symbolic, and the symbolism goes as follows. So, like a firecracker waiting to explode, human beings have a lot of pent-up emotions, frustration, anger. So when you suppress these emotions and cravings and aversions and hatred, people often reach a boiling point. So bursting crackers is a psychological exercise also to release pent-up emotions. So by lighting firecrackers, you let go of these negative feelings and try to gain some serenity. So it's a physical expression of trying to get internal peace. And is it bad? Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine. And the other thing that we love to do is Indians love food. So there's nowhere else, I think, in the world is there, well, maybe a few exceptions, but is there such a diversity of food. Indian cultural food is really different in every region of India. And the one thing we'd like to do is also to serve sweets or treats that are sweet for all our festivals. And the idea is that by eating these sweets and gifting it to your neighbors and friends, you dispel the bitterness of life and petty disputes, and it's the renewal of friendship. So the celebration includes the spirit of community sharing, and we share food, we share sweets. I think Anisha and Milan mentioned Rangoli, which is like making designs. So in South India, we do that with rice flour, It's plain white. We take out the sound. We don't want the sound. But and we do that with rice flour. And the cool thing about doing it with rice flour is that we're actually feeding all the little animals. So all the ants, spiders, grasshoppers, all the little creatures of the world also get a good meal. So.
Right, yeah, I think I agree. So my parents have a restaurant in Pennsylvania, which when they moved to Pennsylvania, this was one of the things that they want. In order to support a family, they needed to start a business. And, you know, as many people upstairs they were talking about, this is a land of opportunity. And they, as many immigrants who come to this country, they feel that starting a business is the way to really seize that opportunity. So they did. And my parents are both lawyers by profession, attorneys by profession, so not at all versed in running a business or cooking. But they have taken it to, they introduced Indian food actually to a small community in Pittsburgh. And now they cater amongst West Virginia, Ohio, and Pittsburgh. They catered the Democratic National Convention a few years back when it happened. So they've really, and this is really the immigrant success story, where somebody comes here with almost nothing, and they work really hard, and they pave the road for their children, which is my brother and I. And, you know, I live in an affluent community here in Wellesley, and my children have, really good resources that are available to them. But that's because of all of the hard work that has been previously done by my parents and by my husband's parents. So we're very blessed to see that, and it's nice not to lose sight of that. It's nice to keep that in our minds. So yes, the Indian food, like Rama mentioned, is very much a part of my life because of the restaurant, of course, and they're very well known for it. But the spices, the spice route, as you know, all of the spices of India that come from it, it's quite acknowledged across the world also these days. And Indian food in general is, you can usually find an Indian restaurant in the United States in most towns these days.
We can stop and restart.
Yeah.
So I found a very interesting article in the New York Times, and I'm going to pass this copy around so you can see the colorful photos. This is a feature article written by an Indian artist who came to the U.S. In the I think he passed away somewhere shortly before the millennium, but he had an amazing visual appeal, and so a lot of Americans liked his work because it was very colorful. And in India, color is a big deal as well. And so you can see that I picked the brightest outfit that I own. And so when I wear this in India, for example, this is not by far one of the brighter colored outfits that you'll see on the street. And it's really a fascinating thing. I think every time I went to India and I came back to different parts of the world, I was always struck by a lack of color everywhere else. And not just a lack of color, but the colors just weren't, they didn't pop quite as much. And it must be, I thought to myself, it must have something to do with the sunlight and how bright it is there. And when the sun hits all those different colors, it really makes them, a log factor, more shiny and brighter than anywhere else in the world. So it's really a combination of colors that you would find in Mexico or Africa, or all different parts of the world all combined into that one region. And it's not just the clothing; it's the houses, it's the paint on the streets, the fruits. It's just a lot of color. So this is an artist whose name was Raghbir Singh, and he was a photographer, and he has right now his retrospective is being curated at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and it's on display. So if any of you have a chance to go to New York, it's running through January 2nd. And I'm going to pass this around so you can see some of the photos that he took. And one of the things that was really interesting is that he photographed all these different colors and all these little snippets of light that are going on that people hardly even notice. So I'm going to pass this around. You can take a quick look. So I find it interesting that this man came here as an artist and brought his local diversity with him. He brought all these colorful photographs and all these traditions and values that he held to America. And so in America, since its inception, there have been so many waves of migrations of people, just like in this video that we can't access right now. You'll see that there are so many waves of migration, people coming here and bringing their local diversity with them. And so over a period of several hundred years, what does that make us? And we have so many rich stories and interesting facets to all the different people that live here because of this kind of local diversity that has global and national impact. That's not what else. you all off with a homework assignment to think about how local diversity has national and global impact. Yeah, thank you.